So today we're going to talk about magic items, specifically Strixhaven's Curriculum of Chaos's magic items. What a mouthy sentence that was, honestly. But today I want to go over the types of magic items, and something that's kind of cool about Strixhaven's is they actually have a magic item shop, and there are actual prices and everything. This table is actually quite cool if you think about it. I don't know, I love the idea of a magical shop on campus that you can just go up to, ask for a bottle of boundless coffee for 100 gold pieces. It's pretty cool, you know? So we'll start our list off with Strixhaven's pennant magic item. As you can see for yourself, this magic pennant bears the symbol of Strixhaven, or one of its colleges, Lorehold, Prismari, Quandrix, Silverquill, or Witherbloom. While you wave the pennant, the symbol on it glitters, and the pennant sheds bright light in a 10-foot radius, and dim light for an additional 10 feet. I really like these kind of magical items, the common stuff, you know? Like the Moontooth sword, for instance, or the clockwork amulet. These types of common magic items are fun because of that simplicity. So I like the simplicity of this item, and it's going to be really useful for your melee fighters like monks or barbarians. And you can use kind of more magical versions like the Dragon Ascendant Monk or the Wild Magic Barbarian, or even the Ancestor or Guardian Barbarian. It's actually a pretty good choice for the Lorehold College actually, which is something I wouldn't say for a barbarian, but in the case of the pennant, this is definitely going to be useful in those kind of more melee, kind of close quarters combat situations. So I think it's a pretty cool item. So like I had mentioned before with the magic items for sale, let's talk about the bottle of boundless coffee. So this magic item is a metal bottle which carries delicious warm coffee. The bottle comes with a stopper which is attached to the bottle by a little chain. Even when open, the bottle won't accept any liquid other than the coffee it produces. The coffee inside is always comfortably warm, and none of the heat can be felt through the bottle. Each time you drink the coffee, roll a d20. On a 1, the bottle refuses to dispense coffee for the next hour. If you pour coffee from the bottle, rather than drinking from it, the coffee vanishes the moment it leaves the bottle. Why do I like this item? Honestly, I can't say myself that I actually like coffee. I'm not really that kind of person. I'm kind of a weirdo that way, but that's just me. This bottle of boundless coffee definitely reminds me of the decanter of endless water, although with that magic item it's a little bit more powerful as it is uncommon, and it definitely has a lot more bells and whistles, if you know what I mean. As for this item, I think this would be great as a way to stave off the cold. If you were playing in like Icewind Dale, for instance, perhaps you would have this item and you could drink it during a snowstorm, maybe gain advantage on your Constitution saving throw to stave off those kind of cold conditions, perhaps. Or in regards to Strixhaven, perhaps you could use it as a way to stave off of exhaustion for your exams. There's kind of mechanics in this game where you can get a reroll if you study the night before your exams, but when your exams come up, you can kind of stay up all night, gain a level of exhaustion, and then get an additional reroll. But the kind of issue with that is you have exhaustion, which gives you disadvantage on your rolls, your ability checks specifically, so that's not particularly the greatest. So I've seen it in a game myself where he added the bottle of boundless coffee, and if I could drink this, I would stave off or at least suppress one level of exhaustion, but the following day, or at least after the exam, they would gain a second level of exhaustion as kind of a penalty. But I think that's kind of a cool way of using it if you wanted to do something different, you know? Before I continue the video, I want to let you know I've done content on Strixhaven up to this point. I've touched on the Owlin, the magical spells, and the feats and backgrounds, and I'll link them down below. So let's get back to the video. As for some existing magic items in the book, you can get a drift globe. As you can see the art, it's the only thing that was actually illustrated. This small spear of thick glass weighs 1 pound. If you are within 60 feet of it, you can speak its command word and cause it to emanate the light or daylight spell. Once used, the daylight effect can't be used again until the next dawn. You can speak another command word as an action to make the illuminated globe rise into the air and float no more than 5 feet off the ground. The globe hovers in this way until you or another creature grasps it. If you move more than 60 feet from the hovering globe, it follows you until within 60 feet of you. It takes the shortest route to do so. If prevented from moving, the globe sinks gently to the ground and becomes inactive, and its light winks out. Always great for your fighters as usual, but you could also use this when exploring the ruins in Lorehold College, or perhaps the dark swamps of Witherbloom instead. Who knows? And now, let's talk about the primers. As for the Witherbloom primer, this requires attunement by a spellcaster, it's uncommon, and the primer is a magic textbook created at Strixhaven's Witherbloom College. The primer has 3 charges, and it regains 1d3 expended charges daily at dawn. If you make an intelligence, nature, or wisdom survival check while holding the primer, you can expend 1 charge to give yourself a 1d4 bonus to the check, immediately after you roll the d20. In addition, if you study the primer at the end of a long rest, you can choose 1 first level spell from the Druid or Wizard spell list. Before you finish your next long rest, you can cast the chosen spell once without a spell slot if you are holding the primer. Your spellcasting ability for this spell is of your choice of intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. We'll get around to talking about the primers later, as I want to talk about the Mask Charm. This is a common item that allows you to cast Disguise Self as a DC 13 to discern the disguise, and it lasts for up to an hour and resets on a sunset. Well, the next sunset. It does have an additional feature, as you can extend the duration to 6 hours, but when you do this, the charm becomes non-magical when the spell ends. In either case, the spell ends if the charm is removed from you. Anyone who watches Critical Role or any type of D&D, or just plays it in general, knows how good Disguise Self is, and being able to prolong it, yeah, it will use it up, but the likelihood is you're playing a spellcaster that has Disguise Self, so this could just be a nifty kind of bonus, you know? Is it just me, or does this give you vibes of sneaking in to the restricted section, casting Disguise Self, then the spell is about to run out, someone walks in, and then you extend the spell? Probably one of the better common magic items in general. As for the Prismari primer, it basically does the same thing in the long and the short of it. The only differences are that the ability checks are dexterity acrobatics and charisma performance checks, and when you're preparing your first level spell, it's from the bard or sorcerer spell list instead. As for the Quandrix primer, we're talking about nature and arcana intelligence checks, which you can add that extra d4, and of course when you're preparing your first level spell, you are picking from the wizard or druid spell lists, so that's pretty cool. While there's no magical item illustrations, I mean, the art in this book is phenomenal, as you can see yourselves, and in this case, we're going to be talking about the Lorehold primer. The Lorehold primer basically lets you use intelligence, history, or intelligence religion checks with that extra d4, and additionally, you can pick from the cleric or wizard spell lists for your first level spell of choice. And let's finish up the primers by talking about the Silver Quill one. In this case, you can make a charisma intimidation or charisma persuasion check and add that d4. And additionally, when you're casting or choosing that first level spell, should I say, it's from the bard or cleric spell lists. I love the fact that you can prepare a first level spell, as casters like sorcerers or bards can't really do this, so even having one spell that you can kind of use at a moment's notice is frankly so useful. And not to mention the skill versatility with the fact that you can gain a d4 to the roll, so you're basically getting the guidance cantrip for free. This is pretty great. Yeah, it's a limited thing, but still pretty useful. They're definitely some of my more favorited magic items in this book. Be prepared, as this might shock you. The greatest magic item in Strixhaven. The cuddly Strixhaven mascot. Representing one of the mascots of Strixhaven, this soft, tiny magic toy is perfect for cuddling. If you press it to your arm, shoulder or leg as an action, the toy stays attached there for 1 hour, or until you use an action to remove it. This toy can also be used to fight off fear. When making a saving throw to avoid or end the frightened condition on yourself, you can give yourself advantage on the roll if the toy is on your person. You must decide to do so before the roll of a d20. If the save succeeds, you can't use the toy in this way again until you finish a long rest. It's by far the best item. There is no comparison. End of story. That's it. So before I continue the video, I want to ask you guys to like and subscribe. That would help me out and I want this channel to grow. Additionally, I want to let you know that I have videos below linked in the description, and if you want to go and check them out, feel free to. I'd really appreciate it. The last magic item on today's list does contain spoilers for Strixhaven's Curriculum of Chaos's storyline or campaign, so if you want to click off now, go ahead. I've got other videos you can watch anyway. Otherwise, stay tuned. So finally we have Morgaxors Orb. This is a legendary item, and let's read the flavor text. Rolling green mist fills this glass orb, which the exiled Strixhaven mage once used in foul magical experiments. His spirit has infused the orb, which he uses to spread a terrible curse amongst the Strixhaven's students. It is a sentient object, and it is chaotic evil. The orb has an intelligence of 20, a wisdom of 16, a charisma of 16, as well as hearing and dark vision out of a range of 30 feet. So as long as you're touching this item, you can communicate with this orb through common and telepathy. Additionally, it can cast the suggestion spell targeting you or one other creature that touched the orb within the last 24 hours. This isn't a power of the orb that you control. According to the item, it's actually a cursed item, and anyone who touches it, who is in control of it, must make a DC 10 wisdom saving throw. On a failure, they become cursed, and they can be under one of the effects as listed. The cursed creature falls unconscious for 1 hour. The creature is roused if it takes damage or someone uses an action to shake or slap it awake. Visions of terror. The cursed creature sees terrifying visions, causing it to view all creatures that aren't also cursed as dangerous monsters for 10 minutes. The cursed creature must use its action each round to make it one attack against the nearest non-cursed creature. If the cursed creature has multiple possible targets, it attacks one at random. This effect ends if the cursed creature is incapacitated. Wow. This effect can be removed by the remove curse spell, of course, and it has an ability called Magical Signature. As a side effect of the orb's curse, the spell Detect Magic reveals the aura of an enchantment surrounding creatures bearing the curse. This aura is distinctive, but in a way Detect Magic offers no further details about. Interesting. And destroying the orb has an AC of 18, 20 hit points, immunity to necrotic, poison and psychic damage, and resistance to all other types of damage. Reduced to 0 hit points, the orb shatters. Interesting. So this was definitely a first viewing, and seeing what it can do, it's quite impressive. And it's really interesting to see more cursed items in D&D. This has been JohnnyGMs. Talk to you guys later.